Karamoja sub-region, commonly known as Karamoja, is a region found in northeastern Uganda. It covers an area of 27,528 kilometers and comprises of Kotido District, Kabong, Karenga, Nabiratuk, Abim, Moroto, Napak, Amdat, and Nakapipiriti District. Karamoja sub-region is one of the most ethnically diverse parts of Eastern Africa and is associated with the highest levels of food insecurity in Uganda due to the climate risks in the country, with drought as the main and recurrent natural disaster amplified by climate change. In our EcoPlus program today, we take you to Napak District to ascertain the environment challenges and how they are being dealt with. Ngiro James is the Senior Environment Officer, Napak District.
Yeah, when you look at Karamoja is barely in an arid region that receives rain below 1,500 mils in a year. But generally, the place is it is a gently flat savanna terrain, and the communities here entirely is dependent on the natural resources. That means that a lot of the trees, the shrubs that we have are depleted due to the type of livelihoods that we have here. So there is a high degradation on the environment, looking at the nature of the land and also looking at the livelihoods. We are a livestock keeping community that entirely depends on the natural resources that we have. So there is a lot of depletion, especially for fencing homes and also for grazing the livestock that we have. So there is a lot of depletion that is happening here, and of course with the scarcity of water as well. So it makes us keep moving up and down. Of course we have the trees and the fauna. Yes, other natural resources that we have were of course endowed also with some unexploited minerals. We have iron ore around Napak Hills. We have sand. We have maram. We have also some stones that entirely are used by the community. The water coverage is at 87% in the district, and most of them are protected, especially at the lower part of the district. And it is something that it is within the policy, the water policy, that all the water sources should be protected and we should have fruit trees and shade trees planted around as part of mitigation measures. So it is part of our water protection manual.
Ngiro explains why there is a lot of bush burning in the area and the entire Karamoja sub-region.
This is a pastoralist, agro-pastoralist community. So in an agro-pastoralist community, normally around October to February, there is a lot of bush burning. Why? Because they want to burn the dry hay so that the new pastures can regenerate for the animals. And then it is also something that is by in the pasture is that when the grasses overgrow, it harbors the ticks. So for them to clear off the ticks, the tick burden, they have to do the burning. Yes, and then of course they also do it for clearing the land. So when you look at the most areas that do the burning, it's around Iriri, Lorenchora, and then around Matang.
He highlighted the other forms of degradation.
Other forms of degradation is it is degraded through agriculture and settlement. So most of the communities are now moving towards crop production, and then of course the livestock. So when you keep a lot of livestock, there will be a lot of trampling and overgrazing. So that entirely will degrade the land if there is continuous grazing. Then, of course, when you're also getting increased settlements, especially the circular kind of settlements, there is a lot of depletion of vegetation because you have to cut trees to fence off the livestock and also fence off the homesteads. Yeah, of course. And then the other is on agriculture. Most people are opening land for big chunks of land for cultivation. As you are coming in, there is when you are coming from Lorenchora, there were very big farms of about 400 hectares around that area, Lomuriangalepan. So it is purely moving towards crop production, and there is a lot of depletion around there.
Ngiro rated the level of degradation in Napak District. The degradation is mostly done by women, as they are the ones mostly in charge of house chores.
It is medium. Yes, it is the medium level now. Yes, of course we need to address the factors so that we can handle the land sustainably. Yes. When you look at the nature of this terrain, it is there is what we call segregation of duties. So women do a lot of household chores. So much of the household chores, they entail issues of construction of the manyatas, construction of the huts. So that entirely goes to the woman. So the man does protection, does the herding. So that means now most women are doing a lot of degradation, because they are the ones who collect firewood, they are the ones who go for charcoal, though most men are also now entering into that business. But entirely it is women that are degrading more. We have segregated roles. Ours is to oversee.
Culturally,
Yes.
that's what is meant to be done.
Yes.
In solving the challenges, Napak District Environment Department is continuing to sensitize the community on conservation measures and developing management plans.
Okay, what we are doing apparently is we are doing awareness. Even yesterday we are in a petroleum, still trying to create awareness on wetland management. Of course, at the lower part of the district, we have wetlands. We have Lokichar in Lope, we have Longorikipi in a petroleum, then Lokok Lokere in a petroleum towards Achukudu. So there is a lot of, again, rice growing around the wetlands. So what we are doing is we are developing plans, management plans for these wetlands. So as we do that, we are creating more awareness to ensure that the communities get to know that we are degrading or we are deteriorating the land use. Then the other that we are also doing is we already have an ordinance as a district. So with the help of the ordinance, it is helping us to enforce some of the policies, some of the bad devices that the community is doing, especially in tree cutting. Which trees should be cut, which trees should be left. So there are those sections within the ordinance. Then we are also using the government policies, so to also try to enforce. So we also have the third presidential order. It also helped us a lot because it helped to reduce the charcoal inflow, because there was a lot of charcoal burning within the district. So by the help of the third presidential order, it helped us to reduce, because there was a lot of enforcement support from other stakeholders. Yes, they adhered to that because there was a lot of trade. Yes. And then we also have the political will. So the politicians are helping us, especially to push, to enforce. So that is how we are trying to address. And of course, we also get some support from the center, so for creating this awareness and some of the restoration around the degraded areas. And of course, restoration is a bit expensive, so it needs a lot of resources. So what we do in bits. Can restore like half an acre or 1 acre.
Mature stakeholders are doing a lot to restore ecosystems in Napak District. Through multi-sector approach, the restoration rate is still low.
It is very low. It is still low. Looking at the weather here, the weather does not support. You need to insist and not do it timely. Otherwise, it is not something that the community is willingly taking it up, because there is a lot of burning. So when those that are restoring, they get their plants being burnt. So that is something that is discouraging some of them. It is still low. You are looking still at looking at the geographical area of the place. So there are a lot of interventions that the government is trying to bring on board. One of them is PDM. So people are getting some of this money, but of course the restoration aspect is not taken up seriously. So much of it is going into smaller businesses. So that is how some of them are trying to cope up with the household challenges. Yes. There are many projects that we have received here since 2015. There have been several livelihoods projects that have been implemented in the region. And most of them are around livelihoods. So when you look at the livelihood projects, most of them are looking at crop production and then livestock rearing. So on the side of crop production, there is a low yield, low improvement. But on livestock, there has been some improvement, looking at the agro-pastoral communities. So the way some of of course not every farmer will always improve. There are those that have improved, there are those that have not improved. So what has happened is the previous approach was a group approach, which was not picked, which was not taken by all the households. So there are those that would join the group when the program ends. They withdraw from the intervention. So they leave the intervention to an individual. So those that continue with the intervention will entirely improve. But the majority have been withdrawn because one, they were looking at the short term. The communities were looking at handouts. So issues of handouts have spoiled most of our communities here. They are not looking at sustainable projects that will push them for more further years. That's why issues of, if you brought here projects of tree planting or tree growing, they will not succeed because it is a long-term investment that necessitates you to inject and then wait for some time for you to reap the outcomes. So such restoration projects can only succeed if you are doing more of labor-intensive public works. So for us to implement in those during the NUSAF 3 and 2, we had to use the labor-intensive public works approach, where you register them, make them work, and then pay them for the work done. And we could give them 54 days to do that intervention. That's about 2.5 months, while handing 5,500. So by doing that, bring incentives, you find that you are restoring the environment. But without incentives, there is no personal initiative to do that. Okay, ideally, what we do is we do it multi-sectorally. Because one is the wash issue is not maybe the water department issue alone, is not the health issue alone, it is the issue of all the sectors. So as natural resource, what we do is we are part of the committee that is in the WASH coordination meetings. So what we do is every month, every quarter, we hold their WASH coordination meetings. Then as natural resource departments, we also have our committee that is entirely handles issues of environment. So what we do is, again, we do enforcement. We have done several enforcement, especially on the issues of waste management around town councils. But of course, we are still lagging behind because of issues of latrine coverage. We are still at 13%, so which is still very low. So that is really a bigger issue for the district that we are trying to address amidst the WASH interventions. So issues of waste are still really lagging behind. Yeah, so it is. And then, of course, looking at the resources, we still receive little resources to intensify the interventions.
The environment officer hinted on the begging syndrome in the Karamoja sub-region.
Yeah, we have a lot, especially looking at the previous partners. The previous partners had put us into a situation that should be more dependent, which is not very good. So when you put people to the side of vulnerability, that I cannot do anything, that I should only be waiting to be given, not to do something. It makes us keep waiting and not learning. So I think we need to do a lot, especially on the mindset of our communities, to ensure that we try to copy some interventions. If you move to communities that are nearer to our neighboring districts like Teso, Bugisu, Acholi, they have changed. Because when they mix up, they have copied some technologies, some ideas. But the ones that are around here, they are still really in a different dilemma. So it is something that government needs to do, especially to change the mentality, yes, of our communities. It is something that needs an affirmative action. One is by withdrawing the handouts. These things of bringing handouts every time will not make us push forward. Yeah.
The future of the environment sector in Karamoja may be worse if no action is taken, as Ingiro James explains.
The future of of the environment in the entire Karamoja is threatening. Why threatening is because we have the population is going to increase. And then there is a lot of investment that is coming into the region. And then we also have an influx of other interventions. So to me, as you receive more investment, expect degradation to be there, because one, population is going to increase. Secondly, you're going to have more structures in place. Then the other is the place has a 60% of protected land. So there will be pressure into the remaining 40%. About 60% is around Hua, NFA. So the 40% will be a lot of pressure into it. That means that there will be a lot of conflict as well into the natural resources. So to me, things will be worsening into the environment as time goes on.
Karamoja is one of the great places you need not miss visiting in Uganda due to its beauty and resources.
The beauty with this place is, of course, one is it is a unique place. It's very unique in its own setting. If you moved around here, you saw how the scenery was. Karamoja is still a beautiful place. It is still intact. There's less pollution. So it is an area that someone would love to come and invest. Then, of course, the other one is we still have unexploited resources, natural resources, that needs to be tapped. So it is an area that government should get interest. And, of course, the tourism area. That area, it is still untapped. So we have the hills here, we have mountain Napak ranges, we have the hills around, we have the landscape. So it is an area that, then of course the culture. So it is something that is still rich and would want people to come and really.
As a Karamoja, he also admires his culture.
One is the uniqueness, the norms that we have. And then the setting. You see, we are not born in staying independently. For us, we are born to stay in a circular setting where you have a crowd at the center. So by doing that, we have more of cohesion a togetherness. So what I love with my culture is there is a lot of togetherness from its setting alone.
Ngiro has a message in regards to environment conservation in Karamoja.
One is we need to embrace restoration. For projects that will be coming here, we expect them to earmark a cost for mitigation and restoration. So that as we keep depleting, we need to embrace restoration. And also encourage our communities here to do a lot of tree growing. Yeah, trees can grow here. The place is virgin, it is fertile, it only needs water. The challenge here is water. But if you picked the soil here and took it to Buganda land, this soil will do better. Because one is we have a lot of salt concentrations because there's little water that gets in there. But if the year that we have a lot of rain, we get a lot of bumper harvest. Yes.